contribution and call the member for Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On the 26th of October, I hosted the Federal Minister for Infrastructure and Transport, Darren Chester, on the Sunshine Coast to show him some of our region's growing infrastructure projects. The recently released draft South East Queensland Plan shows the rapid growth that is expected over the next 25 years, when the population is estimated to almost double to nearly 500,000 people, through expansion in the growth areas of Caloundra South, Beerwah, Landsborough and Glasshouse Mountains. For too long, the Sunshine Coast has not fared well for infrastructure investment, but I'm happy to say, with the Minister's help, this is changing and not a moment too soon. In September, we announced the long-awaited upgrade of the $929.3 million Caloundra Road Sunshine Motorway Interchange project, and that will help meet the transport needs of the Sunshine Coast region. This region depends on quality infrastructure for the success of its major tourism and service industries, as well as an increased quality of life for its local residents. However, Madam Deputy Speaker, that is not where I, nor my Sunshine Coast LNP colleagues, plan to rest. I've mentioned the current Bruce Highway upgrade planning study in this place before, and today I intend to do so again. The Australian Government has provided $6.4 million to the $8 million study that is being undertaken by the Queensland Government. This study is planned to conclude in mid-2018, but we on the coast know that it must happen, and it must happen much sooner than that. We have repeatedly called on the Queensland Government to fast-track that study to be completed in 2017, and I do so again today. This is not for me or my family, but for the tens of thousands of motorists who use this notorious stretch of road every day. It is overcrowded, dangerous and well past its sensible use-by date. During the Minister's visit, I was also able to explain the importance of another overdue transport infrastructure project, and that is the duplication of the North Coast Rail line. This is a line that is essentially the same as it was when first built more than 100 years ago, and our region has grown considerably since then. Promised but never delivered by Queensland Labor governments in the recent past, it was the LNP that finally put forward a proposal in 2015 to upgrade the line and provide more than 150 extra weekly services, improving passenger and freight transport reliability and creating more than 3,000 new jobs during construction. Madam Deputy Speaker, with a booming population and a lifestyle that is second to none, it is time that the Sunshine Coast got our fair share of infrastructure investment.
The member's time has expired. I thank the member. And call the member for INDI.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Colleagues, today I'd like to draw attention to a notice that's on the notice paper in my name about the dairy industry and accessing farm household support. We've got a real problem, it needs real solutions, and we need a long-term plan for Australian agriculture. But I'd like to begin by acknowledging the work of the Minister's Office, the Department Staff in Human Services, Ag and Water, and the Ministerial Advisors to Joyce and Tudge for their willingness to come halfway with this, come to my office, to meet with me and to work together on a solution. So, public servants, thank you. We really appreciate the effort that you're making. But let me talk to the problem. In my electorate of INDI in North East Victoria, I have approximately 110, 120 dairy farmers, and I'm advised that between 50 and 60 of them are currently facing significant difficulties because of the changes in the payment system and the dairy industry troubles, and that 20% of them are in severe need. And the answer to many of them is to go to the Human Services, to Centrelink, work with their rural financial counsellors, to fill in the forms and apply for household assistance. But I have to say, the stories are very sad that are coming across my desk. And who knows why. So that was why today's meeting with the public servants was so important. People's applications have gone missing. They've been unable to get the detail that they need in the time that they need. And it's been extraordinarily difficult for some dairy farmers to actually jump the hoops that are needed to get the support they needed. And as a consequence, they're without money. And we all know what it means in any community as you're leading up towards Christmas, school year's finishing, and you've got no money. It's bad enough at any time, but it's particularly bad at this time of year. So what I'm bringing today on behalf of my constituents of North East Victoria is a plea for speedy action to resolve the issues that we're facing and to actually look at how we can change the system that makes it so complex in times of great need for farming families to access the support that they need. Now, I understand that there are problems, I understand it's complex, but I also know that we're clever enough to actually sort through this and to put in place a system that works right across Australia when we have times of great financial hardship, whether it be in agriculture or in manufacturing circumstances, when we need special help. So today, on behalf of the constituents in the dairy industry, but all the dairy farmers and agricultural farmers of North East Victoria and Australia, I'd like to let you know that you have a strong advocate in me, a very effective advocate, someone who's able to come and work with all sides of Parliament and a really productive way with the departments to resolve the issues that we face. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker.
I thank the member for INDI and call the member for CORANGAMITE.
Thank you
My
very
apologies,
much.
I called someone incorrectly as you earlier, so I now call the member for CORANGAMITE.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. On Sunday, it was my great pleasure to meet up again with Vlad Selikovic from Geelong. Vlad is one of many thousands of people who is abused in an institution. In Geelong, Madam Deputy Speaker, there were around 13 orphanages and other like institutions, and so in our region there are many people who are impacted very seriously by their experiences as a child being raised in one of these orphanages. It was a great day when our government announced a national redress scheme for victims of child sexual abuse in an institution, which of course is one of the key recommendations of the Royal Commission. I'm absolutely delighted that, of course, the Attorney-General, George Brandis, the Minister for Social Services, Christian Porter, announced this very significant scheme, which will provide a best practice Commonwealth redress scheme and invite other governments and other institutions to opt in. And I do want to acknowledge my great friend here, the member for Swan, who has also been an incredible advocate for this redress scheme. Vlad is an incredibly brave man. He spent much of his childhood at Glastonbury Boys' Home in Geelong and also St Augustine's Orphanage. And he's part of a group called CLAN, the Care Leavers Australian Network, led by Leonie Sheedy, who has been an incredible advocate. She's also from Geelong, and Leonie and Vlad and so many others have been brave enough to tell their incredible story. Leonie told the Geelong Advertiser last year that she grew up in a Geelong orphanage with her brother, and she said, "This happened in every town in Australia that had an orphanage, but Geelong had more orphanages than any other town outside a capital city. Children were farmed out to so-called good Catholic families in the Western District, like farmers, and they were exploited and made to do a lot of domestic work and farm work. And I think many families, of course, had good intentions when their children were sent to orphanages, but of course the level of abuse, as we've now discovered, was quite horrific. So it is a very significant day that our government has announced this national redress scheme. It does provide justice. The money will be significant, of course, but it's not just about the money. It is about saying to these victims, we hear you. We hear that you deserve justice. We acknowledge your pain, your suffering. We apologise for what has happened to you, and justice must be done. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
I thank the member and call the member for Macquarie.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The Minister for Environment has on his desk the final EIS for the proposed Western Sydney Airport. I've spoken in this chamber about the fact that the EIS pushes virtually every serious study into its impacts into the future, including looking at the effect on the Greater Blue Mountains World Heritage Area, the flight paths and the biodiversity offsets. What has outraged residents of the Blue Mountains is the cavalier way in which their views have been treated by the consultation process. Not a single public meeting was held by the government in the lead up to the draft EIS, nor since, to discuss the issue and the process. In contrast, when Labor considered allowing civilian flights at Richmond RAF Base, also in my electorate, the first step was an open, advertised public meeting where key senior